It's me, Shannon, coming back at you again Friday night, 6 o'clock. A little music show here I'm going to do. It's a big day. It's another big day. It's always a big day, right? But today, well, yesterday kicked off Godsmack's tour with the new guys. And so I went online today, and like I said, Wade Murph, great job. Sam Colton, great job. Godsmack sounded fantastic. Looked fantastic. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that there's elements about the whole thing. The big concert, all the fans, all the people, all the peers, my peers, and all the other bands, and all that band was there. I'd go say hi to them in the dressing room. But so I get these roller coasters of emotions, you know, and in the end, I'm happy, and I know that they're happy too. So I hope y'all are all happy today. It's Friday. It is May 8th, and tomorrow is my daughter Jessamine, her birthday, which is cray cray. Because it seems like in a blink of an eye she'll be 27 years old. This girl, this woman, a fine young lady who did 6 years in college and got her master's. And I couldn't be more proud of her than anything on this whole planet. And I'm proud of a lot of things. I am. Life is good, people. Friday, another Friday, May 8th. I know that this tour, you know, it's in my state. By the way, I live in the great state of Florida. And the Welcome to Rockville concert's happening tonight, tomorrow, I think, and the next day. But last night was day one, I believe, which featured Godsmack, as well as some other heavy hitters. I'm seeing a lot about Bring Me the Horizon. And I remember Bring Me the Horizon probably years and years ago, playing some of the festivals that we were playing in Godsmack. And yeah, I got to see them once, and it was a daytime thing. And now I see them, and they're headliners. They were probably playing third or fourth on the day back then, maybe fifth. And wow, with their show, it's very impressive. They have a really beautiful stage design, huge, immaculate looking video screen behind them that had some really trippy, cool art going on. I'd have to listen to their music, though. I can't, I'm not familiar with any of their music. Maybe we'll do that in the next couple hours. Pull up some songs by Bring Me the Horizon and check them out. I'm sure you all probably heard them. I've been busy. Been busy for a couple years. A few years. You get in a band and you're engrossed is a good adjective to describe it. I like to say laser focused, you know, and you're so in your world of music that sometimes it's hard even. You don't want to hear other current bands and acts because you don't want to be unduly influenced sometimes. Depends on if one is trendy or not. But I typically try to not be trendy and stay away from the trends. Yeah, and trying to be original, you know. And I feel like in the 70s, 60s and 70s, that's why I always said, man, if I was just born 10, 15 years earlier, you know, it would have been a different thing, my life, I think, in music, with the creativity that the 60s and 70s bands had going, and the way that A&R worked at record labels, and they didn't sign a band back then for the short term. They were looking, they didn't really, they wanted to get ears on that first record, but they wanted to use actual A&R guys to pick the right producers and places to record and write for these bands to develop their own original sound over the years. And now it's a little different. And sometimes one will get a record deal after having not even played shows, but X amount of followers and online presence might be enough to get your tape heard over another band. Tape, note that old school shit. Get your tape heard. You're going to send them your cassette, your new demo. You're going to send them your new, I sent my new demo out today on cassette. Universal. Yeah, I got a contact there, you know. They get his cassette. Nobody has a cassette player. What do we got here? Music news. Stanley Simmons, featuring Sons of Kiss, as Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons share their third single, Temporary Love. I'll say this about those cats. I saw some of those memes, little reels that you put out, and their band, Stanley Simmons, stood there and went 3, 4, and they sang some harmony that I think the Fab Four would have been proud of. It sounded really, really natural and good. These 4 kids, young men, standing there singing together. I haven't heard the song. Well, shit, I missed 2 of them, I guess. It says the third single. So somehow they came out and I didn't get to hear them. I don't know what that means. Does that mean it's not hitting? I did see that some jackass had put F your kids on the Kiss site or to Paul Stanley. Somehow Paul Stanley had said, fuck your kids. Band, not your kids. Fuck your kids. No, it's all F your kids band, you know. They're just, using their daddy's names and Kiss to try and get famous and rich. And Paul Stanley, in his wisdom, said the whole nepotism thing doesn't work if the thing is great, and if you listen to the band Stanley Simmons, it's really good music. And like I said, I haven't studied it, but I saw parts of the first song when they released the video of it, and it's not like they're trying to be like Kiss, but there's an undeniable DNA, I feel, and chemistry between their voices. And if you're raised in a family of legendary songwriter, rock star, Hall of Famers, Kiss, you're probably going to get exposed. And we all know, if you're a Kiss fan, we all know how much Gene openly worships the Beatles. And so he raised his kid to be listening to some Beatles, just like I raised my daughter to listen to some Beatles. I just threw in the Ramones too. I felt the importance of the Ramones were up there with the Beatles. And so my point is, though, these dudes, Paul Stanley's kids, you know, he listened to great music coming up. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons didn't just play their Kiss records for them, for their kids. Here, listen to my band, our band. They exposed them to all the great music that they were exposed to, and down to the even look of the band. Stanley Simmons is the name of it. They look kind of hippie, kind of vibey, 70s looking, which I like. I saw this one picture of them, and it was kind of Zeppelin-y, and they were standing outside, and by George, it looked like somebody crocheted them some nice, like, shirts or shawls and shit. They had some shawls on. And the one Simmons or Stanley was holding his shawl up, and it looked really cool in the 70s. And I was like, that's a cool vibe for these guys, I think. And what's this? All right, so there you go. Everybody check out their third single, Temporary Love. And I'm sure it's good. I'd probably bet my left nut on that one. Those boys were raised right. But I'm a big Kiss fan. So think what you want of that. But I do know that when I heard 1976, I was some 8, 9 years old, and I heard Calling Dr. Love on the radio. And I was already, exposed to music through my parents, who had a vast record collection. And my mom had Creedence and Stones, Beatles, lots of Beatles, and Elvis, and Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings. This is what I was raised on. And 50s, lots of doo-wop 50s. The Time Life 50s doo-wop records they used to sell that had just like every hit from 1950 to 1959. And it was all that rockin' stuff. So I was exposed to music like that early. But once the radio, which my mom tuned in the kitchen, we had a big kitchen in West Virginia where I grew up. Big kitchen. Everybody, we would all hang out in the kitchen. And so Mom always had the rock radio station on. And I heard, and I was like, what is that? And Peter Criss did his little shuffle beat. It's kind of a jazzy kind of rock thing. And Gene came in with the lyrics, man. You love me so bad. And I was like, what? My little 8-year-old mind. And then what really landed the deal with probably all of us kids, and one of the reasons, certainly, but it was the music first, I will say that. I heard that song, and then I saw a picture of them at the dime store. And they were starting to sell magazines like Cream and stuff. And I couldn't tell you what magazine it was, but I saw it, and I go, oh my God, that's... They sing Calling Dr. Love. And, boy, I immediately had to know more. And I remember, we would shoplift. We would shoplift those magazines. And we got away with it for a week or two, and then got caught. And it was the most embarrassing. I never stole again. So embarrassing. But that's a little aside to my story there. So anyway, all the years later, I find myself in Electric Lady Studios in New York City, and I'm there. I bought a package for my best friend Yit. My best friend Yit is one of the biggest Kiss fans on the planet. Bonafide. I mean, the collection it's really something. And and I'm always trying to get him something that he doesn't have. So like right now, like, you know, his birthday's coming up this year. I'm pretty sure he has one this year. My best friend. I'm not sure when his birthday is, but I know it's coming up this year. So I just buy him stuff when I see something that I think is cool, that's Kiss or something. I'll just buy it, and then I'll say, but then I don't want him to buy it. See, so and Kiss, man, since they're getting up in the 50, 60 year anniversaries, albums come out, right? And so for Christmas, around Christmas, they put out the Kiss Alive 50th year anniversary record. And so I'm like, well, there's my Christmas present. I know Christmas is going to happen this year. And so I could get him, but I had to tell him. I'm like, listen, man, I don't want to tell you what I got you for Christmas, right? But, you know, don't get the live box thing or whatever. And so now I'm at another impasse with him because I know his birthday's this year, and I bought him the present. But I don't want to tell him what I got him because there's a bunch of, see, now it's Destroyer, I think, anniversary, 50 years of Destroyer. Can you believe that? And so, and there was a couple things. Anyway, I'm not going to try and give it away in case he sees this. He might see my show. He's my best friend. But anyway, without telling him what I got him, I got to be like, don't buy Kiss shit right now. Just hold off. But Kiss, when you're a collector, you want to get it because, you know, it'll be limited, or they'll only make so many, or they'll make a defective one now. It's worth something to a collector. I got the one with the orange label or whatever have you. You know what I mean? But anyway, I find myself at Electric Lady Studios in New York City, right, y'all? And I paid for Yit and I to go to New York. We drove. Yit drove us. And we parked in New York City, got a hotel, got up next morning, went in the Electric Lady Studios. Incidentally, it's a famous studio that Jimi Hendrix used to own and opened in New York City. And I did a record there with Brad Divins, Jay Benny, and Terry Carter, The Souls at Zero. And I think it might have been the 66 EP that I showed y'all the other day. I'm going to pick back up, too. I only got halfway through, you know, to Godsmack. But in my life, in fact, I'm going to write some shit. I'm going to chart some shit for y'all because it's so confusing. All the side projects, everything that I'm trying to tell y'all how I have the stories I have and why I'm doing this show. Like why should he do this show? Why should he do a show like that anyway? What makes him, well, 40 years in the music business as a drummer too. So I didn't have the drama of ultra fame, the singer, and then also, you know, so, you know, drummers were a different breed. And if you got the gypsy blood and the chameleon brain, you can fit in to the band, hence get a new band and continue on. Or sometime if you got so much fame and your band, you know, fizzles out after, say, 5-10 years, it's hard to become big again. But drummers, you know, you can keep on getting back on that horse because, you know, we're the backbeat of the band. Don't let anybody tell you any different. It's what makes people shake their ass. It's what makes people put their fist in the air most of the time. And it's rock. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about music, period. I'm talking about rock music. The drummer is the unsung hero. And to all my drummers, you know it. It's just the way it is, right? But not complaining either. Because there comes a time when you can stop if you want. Not drumming or being a musician or making music. But Johnny Rotten said it the best. You know, if you want to quit being a pop star, just quit. And it is a hard decision to make, because if you think about it, if it's the thing that you spent your entire life trying to achieve, and then you achieved it, and then had that for decades, and you start to feel like, not physically old, but the years, the gums recede a little. You start to get a little long in the tooth. The next thing you know, you got a 5 in front of it, 50. And keep in mind, started really young, playing the clubs 13, towards about 16. So at the end of the day, sometimes it's be careful what you wish for and all that, and it becomes like Groundhog Day. And so you try and enjoy it and try and enjoy it, and I did enjoy it. But at the end of the day, I walked away at the top of my game from the big band. And now I have a bunch of little bands. And I figure I'll do a music show. And by the way, Spirit Wheel, my band, it's out. And I put it out myself. I self-release it, just like I threatened I'd do. It sold 5 copies maybe. It's impossible to get. My friends didn't even buy it, most of them. But because I guess, it's hard. You got to download it, put it in your files, and open the file. And then when the first week, the people who bought it the first week, the 3 people that bought it the first week, thank you, because they had to open a zip file, which I didn't even know how to do. You long press on the zip file, and then it opens, and then it's a file. Then that file you have to open, and it says open with. And then it took most people to Dropbox, so you can use your iTunes and all that. But I also did that, people. And there was a reason for it. I wanted to try to make it a completely independent release, breaking out of the machine, a statement record that I'm going to put this out myself, and you'll only be able to download it. And it didn't work. It's not that kind of world anymore. And so if you really want it, then just wait, and it's cool. Because I did what I said I was going to do. And that's really what I like to do. I like to be a man of my word. And if I say I'm going to do something, you can ask my close friends. I do it, or at least try. I might fail. We all do. But I get knocked down, and I get up again, and all that. But I did. I self-released it. The first week when you downloaded it, by the way, and bought it, and 5 songs for $6. That's another thing. And so, when you do it, downloaded it in the first week. I had it fixed, by the way, at least. But you didn't even get the record cover, thumbnail. It didn't come with that. It was the 5 song. And it says _Spirit plus Wheel. But the band's called Spirit Wheel. So there's some issues that happened and all. But, I know that, it happened. So I'm in talks now with different people and companies in which I'll just dip my toe back in the pond. I'll put my toe back in the pond of this wonderful music business, that I've been a part of for 40 years. Mainly because I really want to get people. I really want to get this thing heard. I don't care about massive sales and all that shit, but I do want to get this heard because I love the music, and it's been so much about the music that I think it'd be if my people didn't hear my music and the spirit wheel. And so, you know, it's one of those things that it's not maybe what you'd expect musically. There's lots of different textures. It gets heavy at times, heavy in a fluid way, I feel. And I certainly can do some drum stuff, and I play on me, but it was a lot of experimentation, and I insisted on sitar and Bowie-esque interludes, and it's lush, and the production's fantastic. A guy named Corey Peza, Corey mixed this thing, and he's a hell of a mixer. And Terry Carter played the guitar on 4 of the 5 songs. And at the time, and Terry Carter, for those that don't know, played in the 80s thrash, pseudo-thrash band Wrathchild America, of which I was in, and started my career in. Back in '88, Atlantic Records. I went through and showed y'all, whoever watched the last show, maybe you saw it, but I showed y'all the CDs up to Stairway to Hell, Ugly Kid Joe, which I'll pick up on that. But to finish the Jimi Hendrix studio story, see, I don't forget this shit. I'll take interludes, people. I'm not rushing. That's become a mantra, by the way, of mine. No more rushing. Why rush? Why rush anything? Especially if I really want to. I'm going to come in a little more now. If I really want to, there, that looks okay, right? If I really want to just talk to y'all, and as long as I get back to my stories, by the way, and so that's where I have a very circular thought pattern, and I liken it to a train running off the tracks. Some kid put a penny on. Didn't run it all the way off the track. It just derailed it for a second. And then I come back around. So me and my best friend here go to New York City, go to Electric Ladyland on a Gene Simmons thing, in which I bought tickets for. And there was like 30 people from all over the world, kids from Dubai, Japanese people sitting right beside me. Kiss worldwide, right? And so Gene, and it was literally 2 days, I believe, after, or no, it was right near the absolute final show by the 4 guys in Kiss. Not obviously Ace and Peter, but Kiss. The end Kiss with Thayer and Singer, Eric, the great Eric Singer. And we go in there not knowing what to expect, and we didn't know how many people, too, it would be. And Electric Ladyland, which I did a record there and sold at Zero, I told you. So I've been in the studio, and it's in the main room, the A room, that Gene did this event. Sold tickets to this event, 30 exclusive tickets. And in it, he was awesome, by the way. He came in and got up, and he had like, it was a recording seminar, really. And he took us all in groups of 6 into the control room, and he had recorded with his solo band Rock and Roll All Night. And so he went into the studio at the control board, an Electric Lady, and he's showing the, muting the drums, showing volumes, and had the guitar, bass, and kind of showing people, most of these people hadn't even been in a recording studio, let alone recorded there, you know what I mean? But so I was just like along for the ride to watch Gene Simmons, like teach the layman people, how records are made at this famous studio, and so it was amazing. So then after that, you go back in, and so what he did for the package, you also got like a box at the end from Gene's personal collection, and every box is different. All the boxes were different, and I gave that to my best buddy as like a present, as well as the, that event. It was something, a once in a lifetime event. And so at one point, he'd be like, all right, you show us everything you got is the first line. So, we're going to do this line by line, and everybody out here will get a chance to come up and sing. There's not enough lines for everybody, but we'll do a big chorus, and everybody will get to sing on this, and then we'll send you a copy of it. It's like part of the deal, right? And so it's sweet. And honestly, when I first signed up for it, it said that he was going to record a song. And if you played an instrument, maybe you could, and of course I didn't like, yeah, I'm Shannon from Godsmack. I was like, I just signed up for it, but I was thinking, if he says anybody play drums, I'll be like, yeah, maybe I could play one. But then I found out, no, it's just you get to sing. So as he said, all right, line one, you show us everything you got. Everybody raised their hand, and then Gene picks somebody. They come up, he's like, all right, get close to the mic, he's coaching you, and then play the music, roll music, and then the person, you show us everything you got, or whatever, and he's like, oh, you're a little flat here, blah, blah, blah. He's like coaching, and it was cool, and he's so cool, it was fun, everybody had a great time. But by the end, then he did a couple other choruses, and then I realized that Yit and I, my best buddy Yit, we just didn't raise our hand, we were just like, there enjoying the day or whatever, and the time watching Gene Simmons, and Electric Lady. And finally, he's like, okay, there's only one more little group I need of 6 people. And I grabbed it, we jumped up and ran up, and there's like a 30 seats. And so there's 2 little aisles, and we jumped up and literally, not ran, but, boogied up there really quick. And he goes, oh, hey, what do you guys do? And I was like, well, we didn't know it was the last one. We haven't done anything yet. I was, oh, you're good. Need 4 more or whatever. And so we got in, and then there might have been more than that, a bunch of people. But we're standing in a group. I want to rock and roll all night. That part, the chorus. And then he wanted to do this thing where everybody just talk and just say blather stuff, and he would put this voice. Anyway, at the end of the day, they send you that track. So we have the track, and and so Yet and I can't really hear our voices on it in the choruses and stuff. But we were there, and it was a fun, cool thing. And Gene, I came up, at the end, and I was like, and somebody had told him, I guess, I did. I got recognized by some people in there, the Kiss fans. And they said, oh, you Godsmack guy, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm one of them. And anyway, somehow it got to Gene, and so when I walked up to the table, because the couple times that he addressed me, because he did a Q&A too, by the way, and I had a question. He's a big, huge Beatles fan, and at the time, the Beatles had just come out with this AI remixes where they took, I don't know if y'all have heard this, fantastic. They take Beatles, and they took like 6 classic Beatles songs, like Strawberry Fields, oh yeah, great song, and we're able with AI to separate everything, and all those recordings were in mono, a lot of, not all of them, some of the mono recordings from the early stuff, She Loves You and shit like that, they took and were able to separate, so it's still Ringo's drums, basically, his real drum sound, but they were able to modernize, I guess, the production of it. Like, they didn't even, you'd think, oh, they're going to mess it up, but they didn't. It was amazing. It was really something, and I was blown away by it. So knowing Gene and his love of the Beatles and all things Beatles, I wanted to just, when he said, anybody got any questions, that was a question like if I'd ever meet Gene Simmons. I've met him before, by the way. But if I'd meet Gene again, I would ask him what he thought of the AI. And he was, it was a good question because he was like, I haven't really thought of it, but I got to check it out. I don't think he'd heard the actual mixes, but he had read about they were doing it. But the first time I met Gene Simmons, we were opening for him, Godsmack, and it was at Camp Pendleton, this big Marine base out in California. And we literally, they set the stage on the beach. 10,000 Marines and their families live at Camp Pendleton. And they had a concert for the Marines that they got to vote on what bands they wanted. And so the lineup was Kiss, got the most votes. They headlined it. Destiny's Child, Bon Jovi, Hootie and the Blowfish, Godsmack. And then honorable mention was Ted Nugent. And so Ted was offered to come and be there and play, open the whole concert with the Star Spangled Banner. And so he agreed to do that. So we got to play with Kiss. I met Beyonce and Kelly Rowland. We met them. It was wild. But and that's how, by the way, I played for Ted Nugent. Godsmack backed up Ted Nugent. So we had, I think it was a 6-song set. And so Ted manager calls our manager and says, hey, Ted has an idea. If Godsmack would have to lose some time from their set, a song, but Ted's there with his guitar and amp, and he's saying if the band would lose one of their songs in their 6-song set, and they play 5 originals, but he would play Star Spangled Banner and then Cat Scratch Fever, and we could play Cat Scratch Fever with Ted, and then thank him, and he could walk off, and we continue our set, Godsmack. And so we said, well, yes to that, first off, but how about 2 songs? Because we're realizing, Sully and Tony and Robbie and I, that we're going to be we back up Ted Nugent. Like, you know, I bought Cat Scratch Fever, I was 10 years old or something, man. That's something, like, you know, he was a headliner of arenas when I was growing up. So Ted, it was a big deal. So we were like, 2 songs. How about that, Ted's manager? Tell Ted, yeah, we'll play Cat Scratch Fever and lose a song in our set, but we'll lose a second song. And he said, name the song. Ted Nugent came back, oh, awesome. I'll play. Will you play 2 songs with me? What song? You can pick the second song. And we picked Stranglehold, which was the first song that Ted Nugent ever recorded on his first solo album. And it's an 8-minute song. And we did that. We played. We did. He played the Star Spangled Banner. 10,000 Marines and their family on the beach, Camp Pendleton. It was night. It was beautiful, California, and we got to play as Ted Nugent's backup band. We played Cat Scratch Fever, and then we played Stranglehold, and then we played our 4-song set and walked off the stage. And I saw Ted Nugent, and Ted Nugent gave me a wonderful compliment and about my drumming, and then he looked at me and he said, how about my solo in Stranglehold? Fucking perfect. And I was like, yes sir, it was. Yes sir. He was like, how about my solo in Stranglehold? Fucking perfect. And it was. By the way, there's footage of that. And I threaten it on this show. I will do it. You know, I'll work it up. I'll work it out in the future, because I have a bunch of video and a lot of stuff that, in fact, you could probably find Ted Nugent if you heard that story. Go, wow, I'd like to see Godsmack backing up Ted fucking Nugent. Well, it's probably out there on YouTube somewhere. Perhaps. If not, like, I know I have some stuff that's not on YouTube, though, from Smack, from Amen. I got some Australian footage of Amen, my band, who, you know, who knows if anybody's watching this right now, or if you're, what your age is, how old you are, but if you knew Amen, if you know any of my history, or if you're just saying, hey, let's watch this freaky dude that used to be a rock star talk about music news. But, oh look at this. Nuno Betancourt on Extreme's upcoming 7th LP. Quote, it's a true rock and roll album and it's non-stop. If Nuno says it, it's true. That's all I know. Greatest guitar player right now on the planet in rock to me. My opinion. Look at this. Mudvayne's Chad Gray. Let's go right to this because I love Chad Gray too. People, by the way, like the band above that, Tesla, I don't know one of those dudes. That's why I kind of skipped over that. But it says, Tesla's Brian, we are not wealthy guys. What? When we play live, that's how we earn our living. I guess I can understand that. But I think they were pretty damn big back in the day. I mean, everybody I knew had that one record. But shit, that's been 30 years. I guess even if you make $1 million, you can dwindle it all away in 30 years. But I tell you what, they say that's how they earn a living playing live. That's where the money is in music anyway nowadays. I mean, shit, we get 0.0006% of a penny for each live stream that gets heard. So everybody, I think, knows that the artist is suffering on the streaming end of the business, and it changed the music business. And it was way more drastic even than downloads and all that. So I could see, I guess, why they're not wealthy, you know. But, you know, what's wealth? What is wealthy? Am I wealthy? I think so. I have multi-millions and Cadillacs or whatever. No. But, you know, I'm wealthy, I feel. And so it's hard to put a dollar amount on if you're wealthy. Because the wealthier you get, the more everything costs. It's a weird place. I remember I, made my first $1 million or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God. Because when I grew up, if you were a millionaire, you're rich. But shit, 10 years pass and, you get married, have kids, have wife, and houses. And I didn't buy any kind of Bugatti or anything. I didn't get a Ferrari, But, yeah, that money, you end up resorting to, wanting to play live because that's where you really make money. You can make a lot of money playing live. If you don't blow it all on production, But you can't make much money streaming your music. It's crazy. So somebody like me who's trying I'm bass backwards, y'all. I mean, I'm trying to sell music cheap, fairly, I feel, and not tour anymore. Everybody's like, psh, psh, dude, but I don't care. I'm all about, I just want the music to get heard. And so I'm going to make a deal. I'm going to make a deal with some label, and I'm talking to a couple people. But it's going to be inside Skinny Productions, and I'm going to release our music, my bands. I have 5 of them, if you can believe it. The Spirit Wheel's my project. It's my songs. I got Perry Carter on guitar. Benny Goodman played the keyboards on it. Shane Hall's my singer. And he also sings for the Apocalypse Blues revival, in which Tony and I are starting the rhythm tracks for that one next month. 5 songs. And the reason we're doing 5-song EPs, I was talking to someone, and in the business, in the record business, the business of selling records, right? And they didn't really get or like the idea of 5 songs. It's an EP, it's not a record. And you can't ask for as much money for it either, because it's only 5 songs. It's not 10, 11, 12 songs, right? So, I'm trying to sell it by saying, look, like with the Spirit Wheel record, right? I put it out April 24th. I did it wrong. You can't find it. it's really hard to get and put on your phone and open and play and listen to. So I did it wrong. But I will rectify that and re-release it when I get a deal and sign a deal, find the right deal to be able to release 5-song EPs through a company, a record label, a distribution company, press and distribution, whatever. But I can do it. I can find it. I'm just jumping, like I said, put my foot back in the pond. I don't care. Like I said, I tried to make it easy and cheap to sell this record, this music that I wanted to sell fairly. So it wasn't by any means a failure, and I laugh about it because I understand when I tried to buy it. You always buy your own record, people. Like I bought the new Godsmack. It's just as a musician, you wanna buy your own record, especially when you're young and your first one. Well, every one is as exciting as your very first one. So, oh, you remember that when your first record came out? Well, every single one. I don't care. That Godsmack came out last week on Friday, and it was exciting to me. It was like Christmas morning or something. I mean, and that's my 41st record that's come out, physical record I've been able to get, that I played on and was a part of in 40 years. And I didn't make a record a year. Some years 3 records I'd make would come out, and some years there wouldn't be a record come out. Usually there was, though, in my career. But anyway, the point is, it's a special thing every time a record comes out. And I went to buy the Spirit Wheel, and it took a while, and it ended up on my Dropbox. And I'm thinking most people that aren't musicians, unless you have big files in your job or something, don't even have Dropbox. But so I will re-release. It's still out. You can still go right to Right Rock. It's a store, and download it. And I did fix the problem now. At least now when you download it, it doesn't play on your iTunes or Spotify, but everybody has files. It's a folder on your phone. It's called Files. On the iPhone, it looks like a file, a blue a folder. I mean, it looks like a folder. It says Files. And when you click on that, there's where when you hit download over at Right Rock, it goes to your files on your phone. And so, but this time, before there was a zip file and it was really hard. This time, at least, if you can find the link even to Joe Wright's, my store at Joe's Right Rock, it's hard, people. If you can get there and download it, then it goes right to your files. And then when you open your files, you'll see the actual album cover, Spirit Wheel, and boom, and you tap it and it plays all 5 songs. But when I will retroactively release it again on iTunes, Spotify. It'll be available on Amazon and also Google Music, YouTube Music. I got to get it on all the outlets again, or else no one will hear it, which would suck. You spend a lot of time and a lot of pieces of your soul and heart go into each song when you're a musician and in a band that you're writing and trying to be different, so you really expend all your force and energy into trying to make it as good as possible, you know. And that's at whatever level you're on, you know what I mean? But I did realize that that's me, that's my band. I wrote all the songs and the lyrics, all that. I got the best singer to emote my lyrics. I got the Shane Hall. I got the best guitarist, Terry Carter. If you guys do get the Spirit Wheel, just know that guy, when you're hearing that, that's Terry Carter. And everyone I played it for goes, wow, who's the guitar player? It's that. I mean, he's that great. And it's so much feeling. But so 4 of the 5 songs, and then the third song on the record's called Gabriel. I've spun that song, but ah, you know, I still don't have a good sound system here. And I have an IT guy though. I'm gonna tell you all that. I'm gonna tell you all about that. Those who care. I figure if you're watching, you're up on what's going on with this show, my show. And I've had lots of technical difficulties. I'm doing this one camera. I want to. The whole intent was to be personal, and I'm going to do this show myself, right? But me bang drum. I've said it before. Not an IT guy. Finally got an IT guy here. Got my ATEM Black Magic Design ISO. It's a Mini Pro, and he got my 2 Tongmeo cameras hooked up, and they look good. And the one up there on the wall is behind my drum kit, so you'll get the overhead view. The ones on the front wall that I can just hit my switcher, boom, and it goes to the front camera, and I'll be all right, people. So let me break down now the transition between verse 1 and chorus 1, and I'll break that fill down or whatever, and then show you that, and then I can right to the overhead back camera, boom, and I'll do it nice and slow, then I'll play it at speed, and then I'll move back front camera, they got the transition, now I'll show you the chorus. I'll break down, I got hundreds of songs that I've recorded over my life that I can break down and that are, I like to think, interesting to learn and play on the drums, if anything. And I will be obviously talking about technique and theory and equipment and knowledge of touring for 40 years that I can drop. I can drop knowledge that will perhaps make a musician's life more rewarding and successful in the music business. So not only am I going to give 4 drum lessons a month once I get on the schedule and I get internet, see? So I got the cameras finally, all worked up, ready to stream from my ATEM streamer, right? But what didn't happen was Starlink, my internet service, that I signed up a year before Starlink even got to Florida. And it was just $100 you paid, but then you're on the list. So that on the first, round of Starlink in Florida, I got it. I got Starlink, right? And so, now my thing went dry here. Let's go here. Go back. I don't want to lose the news here. That's what happens. I'll get off on a tangent. But Starlink, who was supposed to have that shit here literally 2 days ago, or by the 5th, they said. And so Heather, my girl, calls on the 5th, and they said, no, sorry, we are backed up. And it could take a month, 4 weeks. And my girl was like, 4 weeks? He's trying, and they don't care. But, everybody, evidently they're so backed up and behind that they don't have the gear to send. And I had ordered an extender that would be a dish that goes onto my roof here at the studio. So it's not like getting a whole second modem and second account, because I could do that too. So it's a dish that goes onto this roof so the direct signal goes to my house, as it does, but instead of these weird like little extenders, it would boom shoot that signal right to a dish here, which would essentially be a second modem, right? So I'd get the good internet, enough to broadcast on a YouTube show like this. And like now, I don't even know if it says I got a poor network connection right now. So I'm hoping that I'm not all in some kind of a second after I speak my voice and all that shit. I can't, by the way, see any remarks today uh, that anybody's making. If anybody's watching, I'm alone here doing this one, and I hope that it's all going out. I'm gonna turn this off, and I'll get to some shit that I don't need this internet, and looking up loud. Now we saw enough music news for today anyway. The big news is all these big badass festivals and all these badass bands. Turn my thing off. Turn it off. Turn my iPad off.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
It's Siri. She goes, sorry, I don't know what to do. Siri, turn off my iPad.
I'm sorry.
Now! She said, I'm sorry. No, I'm usually real nice to Siri. Okay, go away. Thank you. Oh my. So when my friend Craig's here and I'm doing this, he can tell me, hey man, there's a serious lag, or hey man, you better speak up. I can't hear you. But I think I'm good. I got the Benny Goodman mic on that he gifted me for my birthday. And yeah, I think I should be good now. Maybe. I'm flying by the wing of by the seat of my pants, they say. I'm gonna take this thing and try and turn it off, y'all, because I feel like it might be sucking some of the internet from my phone, which I'm using as the streaming base. And I know that one of these buttons turns it off. It's probably this one. Let's try this one. Oh no, you know what I can do? I'll just turn my Wi-Fi off on this. Watch this shit. I'll put it in airplane mode. See? See how I did that? I put it in airplane mode. And now you're going to get a close-up of the zebra. It's the another animal zebra. And that is Whit Crane in a 3D picture that I took on tour. That's Sabian Gong. That's my mug. Like it or not, I'm coming on here every Friday talking about music. I think it's interesting, and I'm going to get it all together in a better way once my internet's better. And I would do the show too of what Shannon Larkin's live spirit stream original vision for the show was to do something like I'm doing. I've done this my third Friday and talk about music, do some current music. I want to be able to listen to music, which I'll figure out too. I tried to play y'all some music. I listened back when it was rebroadcast, and it just doesn't do it justice. Doesn't sound good. It's out of phase. That's what it's called, people. There's microphones, and the microphone on the OBS bot, by the way. We've been calling them Aussie robots because they're OBS bots, and then found out it was OBS bot. My OBS bot cameras, of which now only one's working, but I have another one, and they're really cool. They're cool cameras. If I go into director mode, watch this, and I'll go tap tap, and now I'm on AI. A little camera has AI. I put the remote down. Put the remote down. Put the lighter down. I fucking stand up. Watch this shit. And then here it follows me. And I go, oh man, I gotta stretch the legs a little bit, because I think that Ozzy's robot might follow me. And it's a pretty little camera, too. It's a cute little camera. Look at it. But, so in my, illustrious career, oh man, I showed you the, all the CDs up to Ugly Kid Joe's Stairway to Hell. And that was, if I'm right, I don't know. I don't know what year that was, but I would like to say 2000 something. So, after Ugly Kid Joe, then this album happened. And that, my friends, was Amen's first record. Casey Chaos, rest in peace. Paul Fig, John Toomer Fonostock on bass, Sonny Mayo on guitar, with Paul Fig on the other guitar, and I played the drums. This record came out in the year 2000. The art's fantastic. You gotta see this. It's just... Alright, hold on. I'll get it centered there. And, yeah, we were actually an LA band, LA punk band. We got picked up by Roadrunner Records, and Roadrunner Records had just done a deal with Ross Robinson, and Ross Robinson was famous at the time as a producer, and earned his fame by discovering and shaping really the sound of nu metal in LA with Korn and Limp Bizkit. And then he did the massive Worship and Tribute album by Glassjaw, in which I played drums on. Speaking of Glassjaw, by the way, I'll get back to this. Remember, I'm not rushing. Glassjaw, the legendary New York band. I just saw some footage of them. They just played a festival. And again, if y'all don't know, just get Glassjaw. You know, you get Worship and Tribute, you get anything by Glassjaw. Daryl, they're quite amazing, and it's hard to describe because they are punk, I guess. They're punk, their attitude, but they're also rock and alternative. They're just they have their own thing, and check them out. I was super excited to see. Hi, babe.
Bad feedback.
What?
You have bad feedback and you've got two mics that are bouncing.
Tell me again. I can't hear you.
You have bad feedback.
Feedback?
Bad. You've got two mics somehow going or something. Craig just said something. It's bad.
Oh my God. So it's really... So I'm just finding out that... See, that's what I said. I have no one here with me. My girlfriend just got here and said that I have bad feedback.
The camera mic may be on as well as this mic.
Well, and when you were listening to it,
I was.
it's bad feedback right now. Wow, I've been talking for like an hour, people. So I guess let me try to.
I'm going to go in the other room and see if I can
try to fix this bad feedback. See here.
You have
I will stop.
two mic sources going. So you've got that one on there
Right.
and your camera one. You've got to shut off one of them.
All right. Let me try something, people. I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay. How about that? You go out now. I got somebody. My girl's going to go out and actually be able to listen and tell me. Uh, see, trying to do something alone. What's it looking like now?
I don't think
Can't hear me at
you're
all.
not on right now.
What?
You're not live right at the second. Oh wait.
Oh, it says I'm live. It says I'm live here. I'm live. My show. Shannon Live, Spirit Stream's live. And this is shit that goes down on a live show. And if there's technical difficulties, yeah, it's my third show. And I got all this gear, and half of it doesn't work right. And it could be because I'm trying to do it all myself, and I'm not really, Conan O'Brien. Uh, but I have lots of stories, and I have quite a history, and I feel like it's interesting. And I have a vision and a plan for the show that not only involves playing music and being able to critique music, but it will also involve, I hope my voice isn't feeding back, now I'm all paranoid. Can I get an update?
I don't think
Does
you're
it sound okay now? No?
You're not live. You're not live.
I'm not live. Huh.
Well,
Well, let me try again.
try now.
Currently live streaming, it says.
Okay.
It's currently live streaming. So I'm going to just keep talking. Huh? Yeah, I think you got to walk outside or something. You can't do it in here. Maybe that causes feedback. No? I don't know, people. Uh, ah, I tell you what. This is the mic.
It's really that's inside your shirt. Put it outside. It was tucked in.
Right, but that shouldn't fucking, cause feedback. I mean, all right, try it now. I don't care. You guys can bear with me.
Now it's better.
It's better? Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I guess if the mic goes into my shirt, it starts feeding back and all that shit. So hopefully most of all the yabbering I've been doing hasn't been on deaf ears because of my fucking microphone. So there you have that. I'm gonna get right back to this shit. So, Amen came out 2000. It's punk rock. We get on a tour bus. We go and tour with, the bill was Coal Chamber, headliner, Slipknot, Machine Head. No, I'm sorry. Coal Chamber, Machine Head, Slipknot, Amen. That's how it started. Then Machine Head, Rob and the boys rolled off the tour. In the middle of the tour, I forget what happened. They maybe had to go home for some reason, or they got a better tour. I can't remember what happened. But they did a while. It was a long tour, how they were back then. And so Machine Head, for some reason, had to jump. And Slipknot got moved up to direct support. So Coal Chamber, Slipknot. Then, and we technically should have been moved up then, and then a new band comes on first. But a band called Dope came on and insisted, and there was much ado about it too. Like I remember didn't like us. They didn't like us. They didn't like us much, that dope band. But uh, anyway, that tour was a little club tour, and I'll never forget it. It was amazing. What now?
Put your necklace in your shirt.
Down my shirt?
Put your necklace in your shirt.
Put my necklace in my shirt.
It's making feedback.
The necklace is making feedback now? Oh my goodness. Well, thank God. I didn't want to have any like assistants and cameramen or anything like that. I wanted to just make this thing like real personal and talk about music with like-minded people that love music like I do. So, Cold Chamber, Slipknot, dope, amen. It was a cool tour. I really enjoyed the Machine Head part particularly. And that year we also went out with Gwar, another rest in peace, another great singer, Dave. Dave, he was so real. He's what a punk rocker. One time we were in Chicago, and Big Dave Brock, singer, Odorous Youngest, is his real name, but we called him Dave. But and we ended up at Exit, I think it was, in Chicago, a little punk rock club that's been there forever. And it's hard to get thrown out of a club like that. I mean, it's a punk rock club. And they tried to throw Dave Brock out that night. But in their defense, he was up on the high top tables, and they had like 6 of them. So he decided he'd try to jump from each one, and of course he made it to 2, and they weren't. We didn't know the people at the tables either. Here's this, and Dave was a big guy, but the bouncer was bigger at Exit, and he came and he had a big mohawk. I'll never forget that. Big mohawk bouncer, and he manhandled Big Dave, which isn't easy. Odorous was quite large, and uh-oh. So it's good? Oh, thank you.
I'm going in the house.
Looks like we got sound. So anyway, Odorous was a big guy, and we all were going beside him, and Odorous, Dave saying, I'm sorry. He was drunk, we were all drunk. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to jump from table to table. And he's like, I don't give a fuck what you were trying to do. And we were all like, it's Odorous Urungus of Gwar. And the bouncer was like, all right, settle down. Don't. And he's like, I'm good. And he was. Dave was cool the rest of the night. But, yeah, that was a good one, a good story. I see movement. I'm paranoid. Now I don't know. Am I feeding back? Am I alive? Do I even have a chance to continue my story on my live spirit stream? It's live, people. Shit happens. I'll give you a little bit of, they got it AI. They got me AI'd in. Here we go. Watch this. Bam, bam. Let me take that shit off. Yeah, see? I can do it. I go bam, bam, bam. All right. Oh, I tried to do that shit. Anyway, yeah. I'm just playing now. I can do that because I'm not in a rush. So, yeah. I would like to control the camera, though. I think that I can. Go over here. Boom. Watch this. Oh, I can brighten it up a little bit right there. All right. There we go. That's fine. So, basically, Looks like I'm frozen now. Yeah, I was. Am I frozen? I'm frozen. Okay, probably. I bet you I'm not live. Oh, now I'm back, maybe. You don't know. You don't know in this world if you're trying to do shit alone. You don't know. I don't know if I think I'm live. It looks like it. Yeah. Live. Boom. Anyway, yeah, man. Should have control of the camera even. Oh, look at that. Come back. I'll come up there like this. I can do this crazy shit. I'll go over here. Ooh. So stupid. Uh, there it is. Oh no.
Is the volume off on the iPad?
I turned it on airplane mode. Airplane mode shouldn't be fucking with it at all, right? You take it away from me. I like to check the news on it, people, but we already did that. And in the meantime, I don't need it sucking the what little internet that I have to try and broadcast y'all people. So she's gonna take that away for me. So anyway, the year 2000 brought Amen and the Cold Chamber tour, and then the Gore tour. And I guess what Machine Head story. I got a Machine Head story. I was sitting with the bass player, Machine Head, and we were drinking, partying. It was like literally 4 or 5 in the morning, and we were the last two up with a road crew guy. His name is Jeff, and for whatever reason, Jeff said something wrong, and the bass player in the back lounge, or in the back lounge, a little lounge, the bass player just went, well, bam! And Jeff's like, bam! He punched him right in the face hard and said, you know, say that again. And Jeff's, oh, all right, man. And then we went on partying. And I was just like, wow, maybe it's like a San Francisco thing or something. Like, you could, like there was no, it was just like, yeah, don't say that. You might get punched hard. But those Machine Head boys, Rob, they were hard dudes, and I liked them a lot. And they got along really good with Amen. But yeah, and then the war thing happened, and then basically we did a bunch of European festivals. We went to Europe, and that's where Amen did well. And so I got to see a lot of Oasis at that time, because Oasis was headlining every festival over there, and they were the biggest band in the world at the time. Uh, and I loved them, by the way, and still do. Uh, but I got to see them a lot, probably 4 or 5 times that on that Standing on Shoulder Giants. But so then we get back to America, and something had happened with our deal with Roadrunner and Ross Robinson, because we signed to Roadrunner, but we signed to Ross Robinson, the famous producer, Korn, Limp Bizkit. We signed to his imprint, which was called I Am Records. And he signed us, he signed Slipknot. Those were his first two signings for Roadrunner. And Slipknot, the rest is history. It took off, Amen. We didn't sell shit in America. We went and toured the world with Slipknot, by the way. We did the American Cold Chamber thing, but Slipknot was blowing up already in Europe. By the time the end of that year, 2000, 2001, we're in Europe. Slipknot's arenas. I mean, it blew up. They were the new thing. And they took Amen under their wing, man, and just, because we weren't selling shit, especially in America. And they would just take us everywhere with them, man. I love those guys to this day. Oh man. And we've lost a couple of them, dear friend, Paul and Joey. And so, but anyway, Roadrunner parted ways with I Am imprint, Ross Robinson imprint. And Ross, or maybe Ross somehow left Roadrunner, whatever happened, Ross Robinson took I Am, his label, to Virgin, which was a killer label, by the way, and is a killer. I mean, at the time, especially, it was your cutting edge label, like like I don't know, the cool label to be on, and it was a major. And they had shit ton of money, which, amen. We really had no big success on the first record, so we thought, you know, the money thing with Virgin will be able to promote the band. It's always been about just trying to have money to tour and be promoted, and Virgin was a good label for that, and so we made this record on Virgin in the year it came out in the year 2001, at the end of 2001, 2002, and it was called We Have Come for Your Parents, and it looks like this. We have come for your parents. And we met those kids, and Dean Carr, the amazing Dean Carr, shot well, he shot the first album cover also, by the way. uh, this thing, and it's a stark. I love the colors. I love he covered these kids with mud and a certain concoction that he had made, and look at that, the art, the art is just so killer. Coma America was the single on that first record in 2000. You can't see it on the white CD, but it's got a pentagram, and we were pretty fucking into that. So, but then We Have Come for Your Parents. Dean Carr came back to us to work on that one for us. Brought these kids over, gave them axes, dressed them up like clergymen, and then he made our video. This girl here, she's in our video, and they if you haven't seen it, it is on YouTube. This is the girl who is a grown up by now, and I can't remember her name. Chelsea. Chelsea's her name, but she was a little girl. And that censored part, she's holding a machine gun. And in the video for the song The Price of Reality, which is a great song, and Chelsea and probably 5 or 6 other 10 to 12-year-old girls in Catholic girls' school outfits with machine guns doing a dance. And it was very saucy and very punk rock, actually. It looked very beautiful in a stark white room that he filmed them dancing. And the video also featured a live um, turkey vulture, which is a very big bird, and a carcass of a cow that came cut in half, opened, hung on this rack that Casey was singing in front of. He was pulling off pieces of the cow during the filming of that video. We had 2 400 plus pound humans in bondage gear in the video. And we went to an old mosque in Los Angeles with Dean Carr that he had found the location and filmed all of the above before mentioned things I just told you. All of this happened at this mosque, and it was an old abandoned mosque, but he got the permit, and so dirt and dust everywhere, but uh, beauty underneath some of the dirt from the previous incarnation as a mosque.
Take that
Let me see, baby.
and just clip it to your shirt. Just
Clip mic on your shirt, not collar. Mild static, but no feedback.
Look.
Okay, so I'm still getting some static, but I think it might be my hearing aids. And so this I'm going to try clip it in a different spot, but I'm afraid my hearing aids. I told you all about my hearing aids, and I'm afraid they're trying to grab a hold of. Yeah, I'll just stick it right here on the fucking V. But I don't know. I don't know, people. It's just, see, the mic part needs to face up. See, live. It's a live show. She's not doing what it looks like yet. I mean, I'm lucky.
Let's try over here. Try that way.
Yeah, all right.
There you go.
I'll try that. So, well, it's good to have some help here, you know, and she's watching out for me. Evidently, it's a bunch of static happening. By the way, you see that static, speaking of static, Static X is another band. See, I just heard static right there. I think it's my hearing aids. They're trying to grab the Bluetooth. I hear it. Anyway, hopefully there's not too much static. Y'all can hear my voice, hopefully. Uh, but Static X, we played many shows back in the day with Amen. They were in that same upcoming hardcore kind of metal scene, new metal they called it or whatever. That Amen somehow got, you know, we felt that we were a punk rock band, um, but we were serviced to active rock, you know, radio, and that's just how it happens. Uh, and at the time, we were serviced with metal bands too, like Slipknot and Cold Chamber and Machine Head. Uh, but Static X also was metal, I feel like too. But I always liked Wayne, and the guys were always cool, and I get along with everybody anyway. Um, but I like the new thing that they're doing, and you know, I think it's cool, and it's you know in tribute and memory of Wayne. It's like you know a robot of Wayne, and it was a great, brilliant idea, and I always liked the band. Anyway, their music was always quirky and cool and heavy, and fucking, and I think it's cool that they come out with the robot guy being Wayne. And of course, I heard rumors of who it is, and you know, the aforementioned band Dope. That I swear they one time we walked out of a show, and I guess Casey had bumped into their drums or something because they, you know, we had this much room at the front of the stage, being the first band of four in clubs. And so Casey might have fallen into their amps, and because Casey Chaos was a fucking madman, and on stage, he really did, and you know, we take him to the hospital after shows sometimes. That's real, people. He was a cutter and a breaker, and ah, and so one night we walked out of a club on that tour when Machine Head left, Dope came in, they moved Slipknot up and put Dope on where, so we were still first, or we became first. And so, uh, I guess Casey bumped into their gear or something while we were jamming on the stage. I didn't even know anything, but we walked outside and the tour buses, so there's no dressing room. The dressing room was for Cold Chamber, the headliner. There was one dressing room, so the three openers, you just use your tour bus as the dressing room, you know. And and we walked out off stage soaking wet from sweating. You know, it was always a sweaty show with Amen. It was punk, and we fucking raged. You know, it was that age of aggression, and so we walk off stage soaking wet. Casey was ready to pass out, and when we opened the door into the alley where all the buses were parked, Dope was standing there with their road crew, waiting for us, like, and and then he said, you know, the main guy, the main dopester, and he was like, fucking touch our fuck gear, we will beat your asses, and we were like, and there was, you know, like five of them maybe, and then a couple roadies, and there was five of us and one roadie that walked off stage with us. And Casey was kind of like, he didn't say anything. He was just, and the singer of the Dope guy was yelling, you know, in his face, I will fuck you up and blah, blah, blah. And Casey was smirking. And I'll never forget because Casey had a weird way of standing with his legs crossed. And Casey was a man that he didn't really feel pain, like, and like he would stick safety pins, you know, through his arm and stuff at practice. You know, he didn't feel pain like we do. And so anyway, he was standing there, and you know, he was relaxed looking when this dude was screaming at him, and and Sonny and me and we and Fig even everybody was like, you know, ready to thinking that it looked like they were like a gang, ready they were gonna fight us, and he was threatening and saying, I will fuck you up or whatever. And then so I'm standing in front of the guy. I don't know which guy was standing in front of me, looking at me like that, and I'm like, I don't know. We're gonna fight here? It fucking feel like I'm back in high school, you know? It could have been on right there, but and then the door opens, and out comes all nine of them, Slipknot, and they got us on. That they, like I said earlier, they took us under their wing, and anywhere they said we're going. Amen. It's coming, and so, oops, I just hit the mic. Sorry. It might have caused a bunch of swaying static going on out there. But so anyway, Slipknot walks out, and all of them, you know, but Mick especially, he's just intimidating. No masks. They come out, and Sean, everybody was there, man, and they all backed us and stood behind us. And those dudes said, "All right, you know, it's cool, but don't fucking touch our gear, you know." And yeah, which was a point, by the way. Went second or whatever, which we felt we'd already been on the tour for X amount of time. So when Machine Head left and Slipknot moved up, we figured we get moved up and they'd get a first band. But no. Anyway, so that was where the whole sour taste came from in the first place. But, and that's all ego shit, people. That's what that is. We had ego. Everybody, all bands have their ego. And, you know, when you meet like the total rock star guy, it's because of his ego, you know. And then you meet the cool rock stars, and it's because they put their egos in check and have humility and understand the real deal, which is you're not going to be that without the people buying your record. And so for you to act like you're better or that you're special, because you're special, but for you to act like it too, your fans doesn't even make sense, because you wouldn't be special if it weren't for your fans liking what makes you special. So, most people I've met, every one of the Slipknot dudes are just great people too, and uh, Cold Chamber guys they were crazy whacked out, as we all were though, on drugs. And this was, like I said, the year 2000, 2001. You know, everybody was doing lots of drugs, and we did, you know, drugs and lots of alcohol. And even the dudes didn't do drugs, for instance. Like Machine Head, I don't think they were doing drugs. Maybe they were. I don't know. We all were. And but we all went through drug problems too, you know, back then, and made it on the out the other end. Um, but even through all those drug years and stuff, all the bands that I've met and toured with have all gotten along. I have, like I said, if I do have a story that's negative in any way, like that little dope story or whatever, and like I said, I could see even his point of, don't fucking crash in. If we were second, they crashed into our amps or whatever, or drums, and I'd be like, yeah, dudes, but you go about it differently. You know, you don't wait in the alley like you're tough guys. You know, dude probably weighs, I don't know, 150 pounds. I don't know. I weigh 110, so yeah. But yeah. But so anyway, so we put out that record. We Have Come for Your Parents, and Virgin, like I said, major label, great label. Uh, they came to us, and here's how Amen was, and this is the real deal. Casey Chaos was the real deal. We lost him last year. He passed last year, and it's sad. He was not. He was too young, you know, too fast to live, too young to die, and complete genius, complete real. I learned more about music, and I mean rock and roll, punk rock music theory. Uh, he studied music. You've never seen a collection like his music collection, and it wasn't just punk rock. It was everything, man. Oh, and he was like a walking encyclopedia of music, and there were certain things that he would make you listen to and recognize the greatness in. See, so he was highly influential to me, and so, you know, by the time we had made We Had Come for Your Parents and recorded that record, and Dean Carr and the video he made for us, like I said, it was fantastic. And then Virgin, the president, it was a female, Nancy was her name. She might still be the president of Virgin, but anyway, you know, everybody came to us, and amen, and there was a lyric that they wanted us to change. And it's a punk rock thing, man, that you don't do it, you know. And so Casey Chaos came to us. They want us to change the lyric. And so, you know, I talked to our manager and asked, you know, what's the deal? What do they want? And so the song that was the only song that they thought was palatable enough to be serviced at active rock rock radio, because it's abrasive, heavy music, so it didn't go at alternative. At the time, at alternative, it was alternative. The Lips were over there, or I don't know, Dishwalla and Toad the Wet Sprocket, and you know, alternative bands. And on the West, that was that. And so we couldn't be serviced there, so Virgin serving us at Active Rock, which that's what we call it now. At the time, it was Rock Radio and uh, K Rock. And so the song's chorus he said the word abortion, and he used it as he said. So the whole line was abortion candy machine. What's the price of reality? And so all they wanted was to take the word abortion out, and they felt that they could get the song played and get us played on the radio finally. And Casey and we backed him, you know. Yeah, screw the majors. Meanwhile, it's our career. But when you're young and punk, you're indestructible, and you rebel against perhaps a system that can help you and further you. It's a career, and we just were young and didn't. And I mean, geez, we weren't that young. We're in our late 20s and 30s, and but still just going for it, and f the world and all that, and punk rock, living it like a punk band should live it, and it was just a bunch of and the music though was always at the center of it, see, and so he had his political message as punks do, which is usually just fuck everything in the government and everybody, but a political punk rock stance and violent, dark songs, suicide songs, things like that. Amen was a dark, Casey was a dark lyricist, brilliant lyricist though. His lyrics, and I fell in love with it and the band, and put 6 safety pins through my ear with no ice. And it was a punk thing that we walked around, and our road crew, Shane Hall was my tech through Amen years. And when we walked through an airport, people, we looked dirty and punk and drunk. Punk and drublicked. Uh, so another, punk rock statement that didn't work out well for us, because then Virgin said, "Oh yeah, you won't change the word, okay." And they put our record out, and they didn't promote it, and it was done. And we made this expensive video with Dean Carr. It's fantastic though. If you could see that, by the way, on YouTube, Amen, The Price of Reality video. Watch it. It's so cool. At one point, Dean put a family of 4, a dude, glasses, looked like a family guy, and the wife, the blonde bob haircut, the 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they look at the camera, and they're all in white, and Amen is on their 4 of their t-shirts. They're sitting around a round white table, white chairs, white walls, and I'd have to ask Dean, but 100, 200 gallons, 300 gallons of blood in slow motion, and they're all smiling at the camera, and the blood coming, and you see it hit off the table and hitting them in the face, and it's amazing. It's bloody. But at the end, they're still smiling and holding their bloody now melt. Art, people, man. Casey and Dean and the Vision didn't get played though. All all push was pulled basically because of the word abortion and the fact that we wouldn't change it for the label. So that kind of ended us uh, with labels besides later independent. So that was the last major. And so after that, well, we went and did another record, Casey Chaos and I. And this is Vanilla Ice, Hard to Swallow. Now, come on here. If you haven't heard that one, and you're thinking, oh, Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby and all that, well, guess what? Ice Ice Baby's on this bad boy. The most heavy balled version you've ever heard of that song. And every song on this record, Hard to Swallow, is a heavy ass, funky, heavy. I mean, it was Casey Chaos on guitar of Amen and me on drums on Amen. And we had a, the guy Doug, the bass player for Puddle of Mud, who's an amazing player and writer, doing one bass. And then we had, oh man, the dude from Limp Bizkit's brother, I can't remember his name right now, I know, I'm sorry to him if he ever sees this. But he played a second bass. So two basses, and when you hear it, you'll see what I mean. It's heavy. And Ross, talk about producing. Talk about really producing. He produced that every song that, and Casey and I put the songs together. The structure, skeletons, heavy, and sent once we got the funky two bass thing happening, and I'm playing dope funk beats, by the way, in this heavy ass wow verses, and it was wild. And we sent it to Rob Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice. Ice, Rob, my bro. I love that dude. And played my heart out on the drums on that record for him. And that was a thing. We were in Malibu, and I told you guys how when Amen recorded, how we met Slipknot. They recorded in Malibu, California at the same studio that Ross did Korn and Limp Bizkit, brought Amen in. And at the end of our session, Slipknot was to come and move right in, and Ross continue on with Slipknot. Well, Slipknot shows up 2 days early. And so Amen, we're like, we got 2 more days. Oh, yeah, yeah. And so they stayed at the house that was there for the bands that lived at this house in Malibu with us for 2 days. That's how we got good friends with them. But then after that, Rob Van Winkle, Vanilla Ice, went to Malibu to the studio called Indigo Ranch, by the way. Famous studio, burned to the ground, if you can believe that shit. California, burning, you know. But it burned years ago. So much history, too, before Ross Robinson even, that studio. Anyway, Indigo Ranch. And Rob came, and I just had Jessamine, so that was 26 years ago. And I drove down. I lived in Santa Barbara, California, and I drove down, my ex-wife and my baby, and I have a picture of Rob Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice, holding my baby girl, and I went in the studio and played drums on this whole record. Hard to Swallow. Check it out, people. Y'all won't believe it. It's so great. I believe it because I know him. I know him. He's a great man, a great person, you know, but a great artist. Got all multi-talented. Motherfucker's smart. That's what it is. He's smart. He can rhyme. And he got his shit together. He's a great father. He's a great dude. Anyway, so that's that year. So then Amen puts out We Have Come. And at that point, we did the Vanilla Ice thing just as a session. Casey Chaos and I, with Ross, said, hey, I want you to play guitar and drums to help write this record. and we were in. So we did that as an aside after We Have Come for Your Parents, Amen. And then I started doing, well, Snot. Wait a minute. When was the Strait over there? Yeah. So, yeah. Amen gets dropped from Virgin. So after We Have Come, then it was a one record deal or whatever. We did one record. So now we found ourselves free and started recording what would become By American, right? Which was the third record that with the original lineup of Paul Figg, Sonny Mayo, Toomer, myself, and Casey Chaos. Ended up being called By American, but it was put out on an independent, only a couple thousand. And yeah, great record, by the way. I love Amen. I loved Amen. Amen, by the way. I got to say this right now, and then I swear I'll get back to this. Amen remained a band and put out a few records after By American, of which I wasn't on. And however, through the 22 years of Godsmack, I still would hook up with Casey and go into a studio. And I went into Hollywood Sound one night. One famously, we went in, him and I, and came out with, oh, I don't know, 20 songs or something. And then the same thing happened years later in Vegas. And he made some music with Dave Lombardo on drums. So it's got me on like, 25, 26 songs, literally. And Dave Lombardo on 9 or 10 songs, literally. And the great Roy Mayorga from everybody. He plays for Ministry, Stone Sour, all the cool bands. Roy is just a beast. And he plays on I think 2 tracks on it. So I am in the company of 2 great drummers on Amen that all the vocals, thank goodness, were laid down by Casey before he passed. And his intent was to put these two records worth of music out. And there was 2 kind of eras of Amen. And the one was just the straight punk, speed music. It's it's punk rock. And then there's the metal punk kind of side of Amen. That was the heavy shit and double bass and the Slayer influence. And Casey had 2 sets of Amen stylistically. Like actually the first self-entitled Amen was considered the first record, but he had independently released an Amen record called Slave, in which he had carved the word slave in his arm with a razor blade, and that's the album cover. You can find that online, I'm sure, too. And it was just straight punk, which is, and Amen was originally called, in fact, Disorderly Conduct. And that was just straight punk, and that was back in the day, literally 80s. And so by the time 2000, 98, 99, when I got with Casey and Paul Figg, and then we got Toomer and Sonny in the band, the straight punk had melded with the new metal sound or whatever. And I hate to call it new metal, but that's what they called it, where it was just, because Helmet was thrown into that category, Prong, Pantera even on that second record, and it's just a groove metal thing that goes really good with speed punk and hardcore punk, American punk, and it crossed over well and all that, and Amen. So there was kind of the punk and then the crossover part of Amen. But we had been dropped, like I said, and so we were writing all. Casey wrote everything. He was writing all these songs, and in the meantime, the great Jamie Miller of Bad Religion, the drummer of Bad Religion, who I knew from back east, met Jamie, asked him to play drums, saw him in a local Baltimore band, asked him to play drums for the band that I was singing for, MF Pitbulls, which was a side project to Wrathchild America, in which I sang. And that's where I got Sonny, Mayo, and Toomer, who ended up in Amen and Snot. And so I had agreed to play when Jamie left Snot. So Jamie was the drummer in Snot, and when he left the band, they had 2 more shows to go, and I guess, whatever happened, and James said, I'm not doing the last 2 shows, I'm going. And they said, oh, and they called me. And I was playing for Amen at the time, and so, but I said, yes, of course. I loved Snot, and I will do the shows. Mikey, Lynn, uh, Toomer, and Mikey, Lynn, Toomer, and Sonny was still in the band. And so Sonny was soon to leave after Jamie, but at the time I got to play with him, with Sonny, and the guys. And so I did the last 2 shows with Lynn Strait ever, because Lynn Strait passed also. By the way, those don't know Snot. Lynn died in a car crash, and at the time I had agreed to Lynn and Mikey and Toomer and Sonny Mayo might have quit by then. In any event, we were working on the second Snot record when Lynn got killed. And we had all the songs written, and Lynn was the last component who'd been working on the lyrics but was waiting, to come and sing them at the studio till we tracked all the songs for him to come and sing. And then he got killed in the car crash, which was one of the most painful days of my life. And I was at the studio with Mikey and Toomer when, and it was Lynn's mom that had called, and the studio was at Klaus's house, and so it was just a real surreal, horrible, crushing shit show of a fucking moment in rock and roll that I was fortunate enough, I guess, to be involved in, because I knew and loved Lynn, and I remember Lynn saying, because like Amen didn't break up when we got dropped. We were like writing songs and we were going to go, and Lynn said, look, just play on the Snot record and finish the Amen record, and whatever you get a new deal, and then when they come out, then you'll be in Snot. He said, he felt confident that Snot would be successful, and he would have been right had he lived, because that first album is literally a classic, you know. And but anyway, alas, he died tragically, and so we took these songs that we had written for, and with Lynn in the rooms listening, and with notebook and everything, like Lynn approved song, and we recorded them, and Mikey reached out to all of Lynn's friends, which ended up being Jonathan of Korn, Brandon of Incubus, who sang such a great song, Serge of System of a Down, Fred of Limp Bizkit, Max of Soulfly, LaJean, Corey, Slipknot, Sugar Ray's Mark. And Mark, Sugar Ray wasn't in the heavy side of the music scene with us, but we played shows with Sugar Ray and Snot, and we loved Sugar Ray, and Mark loved Lynn, Lynn loved Mark. Dez of Cold Chamber, MCUD of Happy E, and Jason of RKL, who was definitely a great friend and an influence of Lynn Strait. And so the only song that I did not play on this record, and that Lynn never heard on this planet, was the song that Lejean sang on, because that was an afterthought song when Lejean had found out, when Seven Dust found out about us putting these, well, of course, reached out to Lejean to sing one of these songs, because Lejean and Lynn were like brothers. And Seven Dust, the whole band, wrote Angel's Son and said, hey, can we put a whole song on we've written for Lynn? And so we were all, yeah, sure. And then it turns out that's the song they picked for the single. So the one song that I didn't play the drums or write the drums with Lynn Strait in the room, like I was part of the band. But the one song that they picked for the single was the Seven Dust song. So the video came out. It did pretty good too, and it's a wonderful, great song. And of course, Morgan Rose, my friend, plays his ass off. He's an amazing, wonderful drummer. Great song. But it was just like, I was like, damn, 10 songs, and the one that was the afterthought that Lynn never heard was the single. But the whole record is fantastic. Some of this shit, it's Snot, so it's real heavy and awesome. Surge's song, anyway, it looks like this. It's blue, and it has Lynn Strait, and it's called Straight Up. And we put it out, and that was, I think, gosh, 2002 or 3. It's been, I can't believe Lynn's been going that long. So anyway, that happened. So Amen continued and put out by American. And then that's when Sonny and I left the band. And my reasoning, Sonny was having issues with, he had went in the whole sober thing, and because he had drug problems. We all had drug problems, but Sonny had some bad drug problems in Amen. And once he kicked that ass, Amen was still surrounded by the punk rock culture and drugs and alcohol and the shows and the bands we played with. Everybody was partying. And so Sonny said, man, I got to quit the band. And ironically, I had just had Jessamine, my daughter. Like I said, she was a baby when we'd done the Vanilla Ice record, and then Buy American was next. And she was like 1.5 by then or something. And I'm like, I can't be a true punk and be in this real punk band that lives this punk rock life. And, I can't do it and be a father. And I just felt like a poser. And I was like, I'm not really, it had to be real. And I mean, so I said, when Sonny said, man, I'm going to have to quit. I can't be around it because of my drug thing, and I want to be sober, and I want to change in life and all that. And so I did. I went and I quit with him and walked away from Amen. And that was hard. It was super hard. And Casey was so sweet. Like, he was such a intense person, but he was just like, man, don't worry. I understand. It's okay. You know? I'll never forget how he just, like, it didn't even seem to surprise him when Sonny said, hey, man, I got some bad news. I'm going to quit the band. And then looked at me, and I'm like, me too, man, and we're sorry, but, and it was a real thing. And, geez, 6 years of your life, and we toured the world together, and it was it's always rough anyway to leave a band. and that was particularly hard because I loved Casey too, loved so much, and God influenced me so much. Anyway, uh, so we left the band, and I found myself bandless for the first time in a long time. This was around 2002, and well, I went and made this record around that time, which it's funny. I say that about the I say it about the straight up record, and I did every song except the one song that went on to be the video and single, which was Angel's Son featuring Seven Dust. Uh, this record, Roy, the great Roy Mayorga, Ministry, I mean, he plays for so many great bands. He played that whole record, right? And then they had one more song or one or two songs that that they wanted on, and Josh and Corey were adamant about putting this one song on there. And Roy, I told you he played for a lot of bands. He also played for Soulfly, particularly that first record, which I feel is a masterpiece. And his drums are a masterpiece. So the great Roy, I love him, by the way, and Cassie, his wife. And so he had to run down to South America and play some giant. He already made the commitment, and they figured, I guess, that they would be done the record by then, Stone Sour. But it turns out they weren't done, and they had this song 30-31-50 that they wanted on the damn record. It turns out it was like the first song, first single and stuff. And it's a monster. It's a badass. But Roy had a commitment. And they said, okay, well, yeah, no worries. But, we're going to have to get someone else to come play the song. And Corey called me, and Jim called me. Jim Root called me, is who it was, and asked me if I could get away and come and play. And I'm like, hell yeah. And I had to fly. I was on the East Coast by then, I think, or I can't remember that part, how I got there. But I remember meeting Jim Root, and him and his girlfriend came and got me at the hotel. And his girlfriend was the singer for a famous band like Lacuna. I think it was Lacuna Coil or Lacuna Coil. But this was like literally 10, 15 years ago. So this is no secret. They were publicly, so I'm not, gonna upset Jim or something. But him and his girlfriend, and I didn't know. And I recognized her. Oh wow, singer for Lacuna Coil. But and then we go in the studio, and it's Dave Grohl's studio where Stone Sour is doing the record. And Dave hears that I'm going to be there and shows up. And because I know I have met Dave before. And he's a Virginia guy, And so we've talked before or whatever, and it's always, hey. And so anyway, he came to the studio. He came. And I'm like, fuck. Because Jim Root, who was also supposed to give me the song, didn't give me the song until the night before the session. And so I stayed up in the hotel. I flew to California, LA, and I was listening to the song. He finally got me the song the day before. So I'd listened to it all day, but I had to fly to LA to do the sesh. And so I'm learning it as I'm just playing in my mind and learning the structure, the arrangement and the song, and imagining what I'm going to play. But I didn't, have drums to learn and sit down and play it. So, and they said, don't worry, you'll have plenty of time to get to the studio. You can run through it a few times and whatever. So I'm like, all right. And it's Slipknot, dude. Stone Sour, it's huge. So I was like, fuck, man. So I get there to Dave Grohl's studio, and you walk in, and he's got that old big Neve console from Sound City and all this shit, and it was fantastic. All these huge high ceilings, and at the top you could see all his old drum sets, like all Grohl's stuff. Like it was like his, there's 1,000 gold records from all over the world and platinum and all this all over the walls. He's Nirvana, right? And I mean, Foo Fighters, but it was like second, third record. I can't remember. Like I said, 15, 16 years ago, Stone Sour. And so I go in fucking tired from staying up all night cramming the song, but I knew the song and I'd worked out my parts, and I'd gotten to the point in my drumming career and life that if I could think it, I can play it. Like I knew what I can play. So in the hotel, I'm sitting there. I can I don't need the actual drums to be able to write a drum part and be able to play it in my mind, and then walk into a studio and just sit down on a drum set and be able to play it. See, so at least I'd had that ability and that many years of experience before the great Dave Grohl walks in. Hey, Shannon, and I'm like, oh, he came, and everybody's like, Dave came, because it's his studio. There's always a chance he'll come. And Corey was so. I remember Corey's like, Dave came, yes. And, we had lunch, and he went upstairs at the studio. He had this cool like area, the kitchen area and all that. And we're all eating sandwiches and stuff. And everybody, and Dave's just the coolest guy anyway. And he's just so, he's so real, and he's so nice, and he's so normal. Like when he's talking to you, he's just a real dude. And and so he put me right at ease. It wasn't like, but I'm still nervous. He's still Dave Grohl, one of the greatest drummers of our generation, and here he is. And so the way the studio was set up in the studio, so here's the knee board, and then the big glass window where it looks into the studio room. So like, right? So you're looking into the studio, and the drums were set up facing away. So if you're looking here, the studio console, here's the glass room, there's the studio, you see the back of the drum. And so as the drummer, I don't see the window with Dave Grohl and all the people, the producer, Josh, the guitar player, Josh, Corey, Jim Root, the whole band was there. Johnny Chow, everybody was there. Um, and and Dave Grohl. And the engineer, whoever it was, I can't remember who was the engineer. Oh, the famous producer that called me. Oh man. Oh, I can tell y'all. That's right. I'm not rushing, right? Doing a show here. We don't rush. I forgot his name now. He would be mad at me too. Don't be mad at me, dude. Because I remember it was oh, and I'll never be able to read it because I do. I wear glasses, people, and I don't like to really wear them. So I take them out and I put my contacts in, and they're not. They don't that. So I'm nearsighted. So like if I have glasses on, I can see this camera, see you fine. But if I need to see something up close, I can take my glasses off, right? And then I can see perfect. Nearsighted. It's a literal term. Like I can see so good near. Like if I looked at this, like the printing on this CD is so small, but I can see it without my glasses. Well, I got my contacts on. But his name is Nick Raskulinskis. Nick Raskulinis. Nick Raskulinis. Famous producer. You wouldn't believe the shit that he's produced. He's great. And he had a really cool way of doing the drums, right? I go in for the Stone Sour session, right? Session. I got the session. And there he is, Dave Grohl, right? So I go, all right. So I go down and all right, it's ready, yeah, ready, man. And I go in, I'm faced away. I can't see anybody, but I got them in my headphones. And they're all right. So Rascalinix, Nick. I'll just call him Nick, Mr. Rascalinix. No, it's a very European Polish name or something. That's why I'm poking fun at it. I can't pronounce it. But Nick Raskil something. Rascalusis is Greek, I bet. Raskil. Anyway, so he did it where he wanted me to do, I think it was 6 takes. And if you make a mistake, don't worry, just pick it right back up and keep playing it. And there was a big section in the middle eighth where there's some drum action. And he said, I want different fills every time. And each time you just do your thing and go off from the top of your head, man. Let me hear it. Let me feel you. And different every time, you know. And then you guys fuck off. You and your boys go and eat lunch for 2 hours. You give me 6 takes, and you come back, and I will take the magic out of each take, and you'll have one perfect track. And I was like, interesting. That's one way to do it, you know, um, which I'd never done before like that. So I did, man. Dave Grohl is my witness. I sat there and played 30, 30, 156 times for Nick Raskulenix and the band. And we did. We went upstairs into Dave's kitchen lounge area at the studio and had some sandwiches and chips. Probably had a soda. Yeah, it was daylight. I remember that, and I played really well for as tired as I was. I thank God that I did. I stayed up all night and crammed for that song. Probably got 5 hours of sleep or something. And I was excited too to play on the Stone Sour record. But then Grohl shows up. Oh, so and then the record comes out, and that song hits. And I talked to Roy. He's like, "Yeah, you motherfucker." He had to learn this song that the producer literally said, "Yeah," and there was a big fill section. You do your just give me some fucking magic fills and 6 times anyway. But Roy and I laughed about it because it was the same thing that happened to me on the Straight Up. You know, the one song that they released as it was a hit single or whatever was the one I played on. But Roy played brilliantly on that whole record, and there was more hits on that record that Roy played on. Where Straight Up, that was just that song was a single and a hit. But anyway, so after that, well, you know what was next. And that's what happened. And just so you all know, and again, musicians never retire. But just so it's very clear, and how loyal and how much I love my bands, when I left Amen, I was quitting the music business. And I'd already played for Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne. I'd done records with some of my heroes like Glenn Tipton, Doug Pennick from King's X, Tipton a Priest. I made a record with the legendary Glassjaw from New York. I made a record with the legend Vanilla Ice on his comeback record, which went mostly unheard, but if you listen to it now, it stands the test of time. It's this amazing record. And I was walking away content. I'd never had the success part of a gold record, or money and all that stuff. I mean, in Ugly Kid Joe, there was years that we'd make $150,000 in a year touring, and when we were touring, and well, we got and we get record deal, and the record company gives you money. And I told you all the story on last week's show about Ugly Kid Joe, and we got $1 million from Castle, and that year we took in like 150, 160K. But that's the most I'd ever made in the music business. And Ugly Kid Joe had sold millions of records, so we could make some money on tour, but not that much really. And so that's the only thing though, money. Because Amen, Ugly Kid, the biggest shows to this day that I've played in front of were Ugly Kid. We played in front of 100,000 people at a giant Best Rock Am Ring or Rock in the Park, one of them. And, just huge European festivals. And then, I'd later do it again with Godsmack and all that. But my first taste of those big festivals was Ugly, and like I said, I felt, there was times in Ugly Kid Joe where in certain countries and it'd be rock star shit, you know, straight rock star limo shit. And so I lived it kind of, but like I said, had never got the big money or gold records and that fame thing. And so, uh, but I was content mainly because I played with Black Sabbath and Ozzy. I was like, I play with Ozzy. I can retire. And like I said, musicians don't retire. So my plan was, and this was in 2002, I quit Amen. Uh, and I found a school of cosmetology in Santa Barbara where I lived. And I got the brochure, the whole nine. And I had talked to Cassie, Roy Mayorga's wife, and she had a hair salon on Melrose, successful. She probably still has it because she's the best. And it was like rock and rolly vibe, punk, gothic punk, rock and roll hair salon. And I was like, my mom was a hairdresser. And so I grew up in West Virginia. Where I learned to play drums was down in my mom, on the other half of the basement was her hair salon, literally. And then on this half was a den where, you know, that painting up there that you might see and go, what is that? Well, my dad had painted the wall of the basement. Oops, let me go up like this. With this pirate. And so that is actually uh, a canvas where my buddy, well, I'll tell you this quick story. All right, my buddy Ralph Tillman, he goes back to my old house in West Virginia where what I just showed you, the pirate scene, that was painted across the whole wall, floor to ceiling. And my buddy Ralph went there and took a picture of it long after I'd moved out. And it was down in the basement where my mom's hair salon was. So, you know, he said, to the people who owned it now, is there still the pic? Can I take a picture? They said, sure. They let him take a picture. He went to some place that makes banners and made me that. Because I sat in that basement and learned to play drums with that behind me. And so now in my studio, all these, 50 years later, there it is. So anyway, uh, I was on to the story. Um, Let me see what we got. Am I boring you people? My train went off the track, so I'm trying to stall. But all right, faceless. Oh, so talked to Cassie. I said, hey, I wonder if maybe I can be like in your join your store, maybe your shop, and have a seat and be like this rock and roll drummer hairstylist in LA. That's where I was going with that. I got sucked off into my dad. My dad painted that, so I always loved it. And um, so I grew up with my mom. Literally had a two chair salon in the basement of the house I grew up in. So it ran her business, Bonnie's Hair Harbor, she called it, and that's hence it was a nautical theme, and it was a hair harbor. And so, and I watched all those people there come and get their hair cut. Later on in life, ended up having were my friends, but because we dye our hair and it was long, long hair and metal and rock, and we had put a bleach strip in your hair like Joe Perry or whatever. Like, and so all my friends becoming to my mom too, and she just made people happy with that job. And I was kind of like, I play drums in bands, and you sell music, they buy your record, it makes people happy. It's kind of the same thing, You're making strangers happy with a talent that you have. And so I thought I could still play and do, and by the way, I'd done the ice thing, I'd done Stone Sour, I could do sessions, and producers in LA were starting to know my name as a drummer that can come in and get it done with feel and soul and to the click and quick. I don't mess around, not even well. And so that's what producers want. So I figured I could do session work too, and I'd continue with my session work, but go to cosmetology school, get my degree, and learn to cut hair, and go down and try and get in Cassie's shop and move to LA. And then I went as far as I played with Sabbath near that time in my life, a few years before then, but I was still in with the Osbournes and still getting a Christmas card from Ozzy and stuff like that. And I had called Sharon and told her of this idea that I had, and I quit the band Amen. And Ozzy and Sharon and Jack and Kelly had come to see Amen at the Troubadour one time. That was a trip, right? Playing what Queens of Stone Age played with us that night with Dave Grohl on drums. Imagine that. It's crazy. Oh my God. See, my stories. I had to veer off the hairdresser story, which is part of my life. But Amen played the Troubadour, and the Queens of Stone Age show up and play with us with Dave on drums. And they still had Nick Oliveri on the bass. It was something. And there's Dave in the Troubadour, by the way, setting up his own drums. I walked up, wow, hey, you're setting up your own shit? He's like, yeah, fuck it, man. I drove over and whatever. And he had a roadie or whatever, but it was just, he's normal, he's cool. But imagine that. Troubadour, Queens, and fucking, they called themselves something else that night, of course, and Ozzy was there. And I remember, I looked up, oh, Ozzy. Anyway, so back to the thing. Uh, so I figured, why not? I made it already. No gold records, no $1 million, but I made it. Played with Ozzy and Sabbath. So, quit Amen. Got all the paperwork. I had the paperwork. I'm not kidding. You could ask my ex-wife. Even if she doesn't like me, she would at least know the truth and say, yeah, he was filling out the paperwork for cosmetology school, and that's the truth. And so, uh, 2 weeks after I quit Amen was when Sully called, and my ex-wife, I'll never forget this moment. It was a moment. You can see this. I'm recreating this moment from Godsmack's first video, long-form video with me called Changes, this concert video. And there's some footage of us interviewing deep thought footage or whatever. And it was that moment that's unforgettable when the phone rings and when the ex-wife said, it's Sully, And I keep in mind, I just literally quit after, multiple bands, world tours, and uh, I was walking away. I was only, 30. It was young to retire. But anyway, I'm like that. Once I get my mind set on something, and but luckily, I have guardian angels watching over me too. And instead of becoming a rock and roll hairdresser in LA, well, I ended up back in an East Coast metal band. I joined Godsmack and made that Faceless record right there. It came out in 2003. Yep. And from there, 22 years passed, people. And now, the year before last, in October 26th, we played, Tony and I, Tony Rumbola, the guitar player, also left. We played our last show with the band, which ended up being this. Live at Mohegan Sun, came out last week. It's worth it to get the vinyl, man. If you guys like vinyl, big 180 gram black vinyl. It's a great package. And so, wow, you say. So retirement. What's next? So I have 5 bands. And so everybody's like, wow, how was your first year of retirement last year? And I was like, well, it was the busiest year of my entire life, but also one of the most creative and certainly fun years. I got new doggies and raised them. I was able to be home for the first time, well, since 2020, the pandemic forced us to be home all the time. Uh, but last year, because all the records that I did, 4 records last year, were all done right here in this studio, which is at my home. So I'm not. I'm still good. I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna get a monitor and be able to see anybody watching. But I've had fun so far. Look at these. I'm gonna show you all this because last week I showed y'all. Let me get down here. What? Let me get down with it. Let me see if I can guess. Oh yeah. So last week, I showed you guys when I was going through my Ugly Kid Joe years, and I showed you that promo, ugly beer with the ugly proper English pint glass, right? And they had made that for the record Menace to Sobriety. And then, as I was looking through some stuff, I came across these, and they're not beer. Let me see if they have. I don't even know if they have alcohol. I think they do. No, they're iced tea. Oh, I think they're iced tea. But these were made in Russia or Slovenia or one of those countries. And I thought, hey, I got the displaying the new Godsmack record on the show, so I might as well. And look, it's 4 different kinds of iced tea, Godsmack iced tea. I never got to taste it, but I'll say this. You know what? I had a 6-pack of that ugly beer. I did. And I tried, people. I tried not to drink it. I'm lucky I ended up with the one and saved it. I think it turned, like I said, it used to be like Corona. The color turned on it so dark that even my previous drunk ass might have looked at it and said, I don't know if I'm going to risk it. But all the other 5 beers of the 6-pack, and each time I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't drink it. But when you run out of beer sometimes, back in the day, yeah. So I would have drank it. But so the chronological order of my whole thing I've laid out to you last week and this week, all the way up to Godsmack, and then I've released the Spirit Wheel in an impossible release. Not impossible, but super hard, very hard, almost impossible to go ahead and try and find the link for that and get over to from my channel to Right Rock. Might be easier just to go to Right Rock if you really wanted to, or someone who's so into music that they'll search for something. But Spirit Wheel, it's called. It features Terry Carter on guitar. I play the drums. Terry Carter's from Rothschild, America. He's a prodigy, a fan, phenomenal. These songs, his guitar is it's immaculate. Features Shane Hall on vocals. I just love his voice. It's my favorite. You know, I always say about Wick Crane, I got the greatest singer, and how blessed I am to have him in Another Animal. He's just the best, right? And I always say that, the greatest walking rock and roll singer. Shane is the best singer in the world for Spirit Wheel, my band, my music. And you guys will be tripped out when you hear the new Apocalypse Blues revival. That's Shane and his melodies, and I can't wait for everybody to hear it. But anyway, the Spirit Wheel, best singer in the world for my music, Shane Hall. And it's, like I said, hard to get. But the third song on it, by the way, features Tony Rumble of Godsmack, my right-hand man, my partner in crime. Writes everything so perfectly. We can read each other's thoughts musically. The chemistry's so off the charts, and I've been doing this, like I said, 4 bands, 40 years, long-term band, and I know what chemistry is. And that's something people, you can't buy or sell chemistry. There it is. You either have it with somebody or you don't. And so that's why some people are like, wow, that band, they just have something. Well, it's chemistry. And some bands, you could put the greatest musicians together. Say whatever you believe are the greatest. So let's say that I think Jimmy Page is the greatest guitarist. So I put him on guitar. I think Keith Moon's the greatest drummer. I put him on drum. I think Robert Trujillo is the best bass player. I put him on bass. And I think that Whit Crane's the best singer. I put him on vocals. So there you have a band that could be the greatest band of all time, right? But if they don't have chemistry, even though they're all four the greatest at what they do, chemistry needs to happen between people. You don't just have chemistry alone. Chemistry is what happens between the chemistry you make between people. So that band that dream band I just said, it could completely suck. Even though it has the best singer, guitar player, drummer, bass player, it could suck if they don't have chemistry. And so what Another Animal has is chemistry. And what Spirit Wheel has is chemistry. And so whether they're the greatest bands or we have the greatest musicians and singers and songwriters, which I always, of course I do, I say it because I believe it. To me, it's the truth. My truth is my reality. And to me, both those bands have the greatest musicians on the planet for the music that they make, right? So all I can do here is try to release it to be heard. And Like I said, Spirit Wheel's out there, real hard to find, real hard to get, but it's out there, uh, as well as a mixed and mastered Another Animal that's coming. And I'm going to do a deal in which you will be able to go to your Amazon Music or your Google Music or your iTunes or your Spotify, and you will be able to get the Another Animal record. And it's a 5-song EP, and it'll be probably $8 or $8.99. I don't know. Uh, I'm normalizing for the animal and entering the machine again on a different level, much smaller level. But one thing that I do have is the music, and I really believe that it's really great. This new Another Animal, and I know that in the past we have a good history. Like, we made a great record that stands the test of time. If you will go onto your iTunes or your Spotify and just put in Another Animal, it's self-titled, and it'll come up, and it's something. Just listen to the first song, give it a chance, and if you like it, you like it, because it's only gotten way better. I'm telling you, the new one, and I still love the first Another Animal record that I'm telling you, 18 years ago came out. That seems like forever, right? Blink of a fucking eye. And but in that time, over the span of almost 2 decades, we all got better. And so if you do, I don't care if you're a bricklayer, if you do it every day, or at least passionately 5 days a week or whatever, you're going to get wicked good at it, at least way better than you were 20 years ago. And you might want to think, well, not in rock and roll. You get older, you don't get better. Well, no. We're musicians. And so, yes, we still play our instruments with the intent of getting better. If you're a drummer, guitar player, or bass player, or a singer. And I can say this about Whit Crane. He's better now than he was when I was in Ugly Kid Joe 25 years ago. And that's not, I'm not just saying that, because you've seen some of these singers that were, in bands in the 90s and early 2000s that are coming back, and they don't quite do it like they used to. Whit, it's the opposite. Because back in the day, we would do this song, Goddamn Devil, that the great Rob Halford sang on the record. And he would do this cool, devil, the devil, real high. I can't even falsetto it. And back in the day, we didn't do that part. We played that live. I played that song. I mean, maybe he did before I was in the band. When Mark was playing drums, maybe he did those high screens. But by the time I joined in Menace to Sobriety, and so 94 to 98 or 9 or whatever it was, he didn't do that. What happened, I go see him last year. He sang it easily. I even went, after the show, I was like, oh my God, Whit. Like, your voice sounds so good, but yet you don't look like you're struggling even. Like, it's like effortless. And so, he's learned, he's a singer. But he was a natural. See, he was born like that. So, and then you give him 20, 30 years now to actually learn the breathing and the technique and how to protect his voice and throat, um and you get better. And now he's the most bestest singer of all, versatile, and he's not a nervous man, and yet he's humble but confident and crazy in the best way. crazy with love and philosophy, his own. And I would get some awesome calls because he's also on and off the wagon. But Whit is a man that can say, he'll say, all right, I'm going to go sober, cigarettes, everything, and just quit until, you know, September 5th. And then, boom, he'll do it. And then, like when we were in the band with the guy, and he says, all right, I'm going to, and then, boom, September 5th, though, boy, it's on. And he's back, right on it, cigarettes, alcohol, whatever it is, everything. And he'll say, you know, and so he has this wicked strong willpower and does what he wants when he wants. But as he, you know, I think he's been sober for a while now, and sometimes, you know, I miss the drunk Wit that would call me at late at night, and I wouldn't talk. I'd just listen to him for 2 hours, and he would literally sing me songs. This is as early as a couple of years ago, but especially back in the day. But he would, when he gets loaded, and he always has all these songs, and he doesn't write them down, and he'll sing you the whole song. And I remember last year, or year before, and I was so tired, and I was starting to fall asleep, and he's singing, but you don't want to say, "Hey, I gotta go, I'm tired," right in the middle of his song, you know. And he's singing you this beautiful song. I miss and love Wit. New Ugly Kid Joe's coming soon. Um, I'm not sure the title yet, and if I knew, I don't know if I would be allowed to tell you yet. It seems like they have a release plan, and I'm not sure of it yet. And it's been too long since I've talked to Whit or Klaus. I still talk to Dave Fortman uh, a little more because he lives here, and he's been hooking me up with some interviews. I guess people still want to interview me and maybe talk about some of the new music, and that'll help maybe spread some of the new music, which is what I'm doing this show for, really. I wanted to talk about music, but, you know, there's a whole vision, people, that I thank every one of you who has watched this or will watch this or the rebroadcast or 5 minutes of it or whatever. It's a 3 hour thing. It's a streaming show. And so I don't expect people to watch for all 3 hours or try to pick a decent time, 6 to 9, I don't know. But it's still a big work in progress, and basically this show has just been me telling stories and a little bit of music news in the beginning. But then I had some technical difficulties again, so uh, I'm going to say it again before I sign off tonight. Got about 10 more minutes, I think, left or something. Yeah. Uh, Till the 3 hour show's over. Shannon Larkin's live spirit stream will be over in 10 minutes. Shannon Larkin sat there and talked his ass off to himself. Just had my girlfriend come in and tell me my mic's beating back. Anyway, I've had fun, and I'm plugging the spirit wheel. It's extremely hard to get. Good luck if you want to hear my band, Spirit Wheel. Um, and Godsmack, new Godsmack's out with the old line, the classic lineup, the last 25 years or whatever, and I want to say peace and love to Wade, Sam, Robbie, and Sully, who are out there now. Started the tour yesterday, played right here in Florida. I would have went. By the way, imagine that you're in a band for decades. Never once could I watch the band. I'm behind the drums on stage, and that's my view. And it's different seeing a video, you know. And I go to concerts and see bands. Wow, I wonder what it's like, you know, see Godsmack, you know. And so I almost went yesterday, but it was the very first show with Wade, and I didn't want to put some kind of like make him nervous, even if he's even nervous. Per I don't know Wade that well. I talked to him. He's really sweet and nice guy. Um, but I didn't want to be there and show up, and even just for the let them get the 2.0 thing going, man, and get some ripping. It was a great show. I saw video of it, and so and they played their ass off. They looked great, and it sounded great. That's the main thing. And so, but it looked great too. And so I didn't go, but I'm thinking of making a road trip, and I talked to Scott the Chuck, the sound man, who will let me stand beside him at front of house where it sounds the best. You can see the whole show and the video and all the things that I know Sully's gonna have on the tour designed where they, because he's like that. He'll have every. He's great with the light show, and he does all the production. You know, he does all that. But it'd be a trip when that day happened. I was thinking maybe Vegas, fly to Vegas and see Godsmack. That'd be fun. And by then, you know, it'll everybody will be comfortable. I feel mainly Wade and Sam and Sully and Robbie, the band, because the crew, it's Godsmack. Our crews, it's already. I'm sure there were no issues. Uh, when we have first day shows start up, all the issues are always timing. Uh, it's like a play almost. You only have X amount of time before they fire the next, usually intro to the song. No click tracks, none of that stuff. But we fire intros like it's a car starting, or the Sound of War before Straight Out of Line, or the the, the guy talking in front of Moon Baby. These are just things that live people fire, and we hear it and start the song. Well, if that shit goes wrong, it makes you look stupid, and you feel like a jackass on the stage. So I think that probably all those bugs were worked out in rehearsals, and if there was any kind of issues, it's probably just you know getting into the flow and the feel of it. And it usually took us a week until you're really like, you know what? All right, we're running now, and we're well-oiled machine within a week of shows. And so I didn't want to be that dude that shows up, hey, like, coming to cheer you on uh, on the very first show as the new lineup. And so I didn't. I sent some good magic out there that the show would be successful, which it damn well was. And and I did. I texted Wade a congratulatory text and a great job text after watching him back there get it for the band I was in for the last couple decades. And so it makes me feel good to say that, people, for real, how happy I am that that they not only sounded great, like honored the records, but it looked fresh and energetic, and you could tell that that they're on a mission to fucking bring it to the next level, Godsmack 2.0. And so I wanted to make sure to say that on this show, because now as time passes, uh, everything will start to flow down its natural path. And I will deal with this show. I was going to say that real quick. I got a couple minutes. It was meant to be 4 days a week, and I'm telling y'all, I told you in the first hour of this show, I got the cameras, the drum show. It's going to happen. I got a bunch of koi and fish. I don't know if y'all give a crap about any of that, but I do know that there are people on this planet like me that love animals and particularly love turtles and koi fish. And I have a passionate love for these animals. For the last decade, I've been raising, and they're my pets. And with that said, with a 22,000 gallon koi pond and a 5,000 gallon turtle pond, you have to learn, and a lot of it by experience, trial, error, because every pond's different. But you have to learn all these things about pond maintenance and how to keep these animals alive and healthy. And I have learned these things over the years, the last decade, through experience, trial and error. And I'm going to have to get something to drink here. I know it's only a few minutes left. You can still hear me. I'll be right back. I don't want to sit here and have a coughing fit. So, anyway, I do feel passionate about these animals. And I know once y'all meet them, you're going to love them. The turtles, you're going to love them. Anyway, even if you're not into fish, turtles. But anyway, my plan, music day, drum day, 2 separate days, 3 hours each. Get out by the ponds. Once I get all the cameras that I have and the Starlink, I will be able to do this. Like, I will do this. I just I set it all too early and said I'm going to do this, which I will do. I jumped the shark. Don't make me move this camera back around to my shark over here. Well, first I'll show you. I'll go over here first. Watch. No. If I'm gonna show you the shark, I gotta show you the mermaid. There's her face. I caught her off the coast of Florida. But, why jump the shark when you can, my giant fan. There she is. There's my great white shark. My dad painted that. He painted that shark. It's a 8.5 foot great white. And he sent that to me in California, where I just moved to Santa Barbara. And with it, he sent a video, VHS, and it was taped off National Geographic show or something like that, and and right when he said just push play, and he said I opened the thing, it says shark, and I just moved to Santa Barbara, and so gives me the video, just push play. I put it in my machine, and he had it queued up, and showed the ocean, and you hear the narrator, off the coast of Santa Barbara, California, are one of the biggest great white breeding grounds on the Channel Islands. And the Channel Islands Sea are covered with seals and sea lions, which are the great whites favorite food, right? And so my dad took me to see Jaws. The only nightmares I ever had as a kid, I got eaten by sharks. I'd always wake up screaming, and it wasn't even the being eaten, it was the being swallowed. So I'd be suffocating inside this giant shark. And that was the only like nightmares I had. So my dad, who was a jokester, a funny dude, uh, he trying to center this here. Anyway, he always thought it was really funny to tease me later in life about uh, how Jaws gave me nightmares or whatever. Ended up spurring my love of horror, all things horror movies and stuff. But anyway, I don't want to jump the shark. Was the whole point of that whole interlude to me signing off and saying goodnight and saying thank you and for joining my show. Again, my third show. Just 3 shows. One camera is all I got. I lit it up a little better this time. Had a little microphone trouble. Got one IT guy here this week. I'm going to have a drum room ready to go soon. It's just internet now. I'm going to say it one more time. Starlink, you know, they're behind, they're backed up. They cannot get the gear that I ordered weeks ago. Can't get it here for possibly 4 weeks. What I forgot to tell y'all, which is interesting, my girl called, and she's the one that's been sent, and when they said 4 weeks, we've already been waiting 2. Y'all have been waiting with me. I've been telling you. You know, she said this is just unacceptable. And so you know what they did? We got 3 free months of internet. And so, if you ask me, that was pretty nice of them. And I was like, hey, that's pretty nice of them. They give me free stuff. But I'd much rather have the gear, you know. But at least Starlink is at least trying to make their customers happy by giving away months of free internet service because they can't meet the demands of their customers that have ordered specific gear. And real quickly, because I'm over my time, but real quickly, just so you know the effort that I'm trying to make with this shit, I also tried to say, well, look, because my studio is separate from my actual house. So I'm like, and I think I don't know how much it is, 150 a month or whatever for Starlink. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask my girl, but whatever it is, I was like, I'll get a second modem and just get another modem and dish for this, as if like if this wasn't a studio and it was a little house I rented out, what do you call it, AVF? Um, uh, I could get a modem. They're like, yeah, you can get a modem. You could get a second modem, and then boom. But that's backed up, and they said there's more people waiting for a modem and a dish that we don't have to send than there are people waiting for the extender dish, which is what I'm getting, which is just a smaller dish that goes on my studio, that my main dish can receive the Starlink signal from space from their satellite, and then it shoots it right over to my studio, 50 feet away or whatever, 150 feet. Anyway, y'all, it's been real. It's always going to be real. And thanks for tuning in to my show. I'm Shannon, and this is my live spirit stream. And it was 3 hours of music talk. Not much shit talk tonight, but a little bit of music news, a lot of music love, and as usual, I will bid you adieu. And before I go, though, I want to say one more thing because it's very important. Uh, hold on. I'm going to back out. Um, well, real quick, go to Inside Skinny Productions on my YouTube channel, and try and find Spirit Will if you want. It's really hard to find. But another animal's coming. Godsmack's out live at Mohegan Sun in stores. The band's on tour. And Augie and Bella, my doggies, are very good, as well as my girl Heather. Tomorrow's my daughter's birthday. And thanks for tuning in and watching me love life and music. And I would like to create a destination for like-minded freaks like myself that just love music. And we'll talk about recovery, drums, music, and lots of turtles and fish someday soon. So for now, and until next Friday, I bid you adieu. Although I'm gonna come on Facebook too and stream a little bit this week, and because hopefully I can start drums next week. We're gonna see, people. We're gonna see, but I do. I'm going to go and I need some food now. Not pizza this week. You know what? I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna eat and plug this place. Edison Ford's Garage, and they make the best burgers. And I'm gonna tell you this because you can see I eat well. They put on their burger uh, um, God, the tips of pork, pork tips, and barbecue sauce. I had to tell you all that. I know it's dumb, but and I get the same burger every time that I eat at Edison Ford's Garage, and I can't remember the name of it. I was going to tell you the name of it because when you get down to Southwest Florida and you can find yourself a Ford's Garage, it's the best burger in town. I gotta say it. I don't know why, but my voice starts to sound like Alex Jones now. But don't worry, I'm not going to spout any political predictions. Anyway, until next week, drum day's coming, fish and turtle day's coming, recovery day in the library's coming. I'm willing it all into the universe.